Welcome to Driven to Repair. I am your host, John Webb, 10 Point Complete Managing Partner. And today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Paul Hill, longtime industry veteran, and also incoming president of CIF, the Collision Industry Foundation. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, John. Excited to be here.
Well, we appreciate the time. And maybe let's start with your journey and how you got into the industry in the first place and how that kind of all transpired.
So I grew up in auto parts. My dad was a salesman and sales manager for an independent auto parts warehouse, and he started with them the year I was born. And I grew up working on that side of the business, from helping him with his customers to, by 12 years old, I could work the counter and he would loan me out to his customers when they needed extra help on Saturdays. Started my career on the auto parts side as a professional. I just had my 34th anniversary, so a long time ago. It was like 2009. I switched to running a sales team for a auto body jobber on the East Coast, and that was when I made the move over to Collision, and I've been here ever since.
Well, that's great background. And I do recall one instance, we'll call it a networking event, but just between us, it was probably at a bar. And I remember a bunch of us sitting around and being quite impressed with your knowledge of cars. And some of the younger gentlemen had no idea what we were talking about. I remember, we were saying things like, well, what was Jim Rockford's car? And all these different, so obviously you had an interest in it very early. Any additional remembrances about your love of cars and the automotive industry in general?
Well, yeah, my dad didn't believe in using mechanics unless we had to, so we did all of our own work. And he was an old street rodder, and that came over to me. So I had a number of different interesting vehicles as a young man, including pulled a 10-second 55 Chevy drag car, put it back on the street, put bumpers and lights and seats in it, and that became my daily driver for half of high school.
Wow. I
So,
was
and
never that handy, but I always wished I was. That's a really good uh, antidote there. What are you doing currently with the industry? What's your current position?
so currently I'm the principal for sustaining partners for supplier and information providers at iCar. It's a long term to say. In our sustaining partner program, anybody that's not an insurer or an OEM falls in my neighborhood.
Yeah, big responsibility there, and it sounds like a kind of a service mentality, which sure bleeds over into the participation initially in CIF, and maybe walk us through a little bit about your journey there, because I think that we maybe started participating in CIF, Collision Industry Foundation, at relatively the same time, and currently you're now the president, and I am not. So congratulations on that.
When I went to iCar in 2018, I was the Northeast regional. And at some point, we had a meeting as a group. All the regionals had a meeting with Petra so that we could help with the awareness piece, which is always the biggest struggle that we have with CIF, is letting people know we're here to help. And that was where I first got introduced to it. And as I moved forward, in 2021, I started volunteering for the Cocktails for a Cause, or still called the Gala at that point, committee. And that was the year where Palm Springs wasn't open. So we had it in July in Pittsburgh, which is near me. And I drove up. That was my first event as a volunteer. From that point on, became a trustee and chair of that committee, and then now to president.
Well, congratulations on that. And I know that I've attended CIF events prior to becoming, I guess, quote unquote, officially involved. But I do recall the Pittsburgh event, and being from Columbus, Ohio, I drove to that as well. I think that's when Petra kind of started talking to me about possibly serving in a more formal capacity. Being president, and I know it's been a relatively short period of time. Was it just in January? I think you were sworn in Palm Springs. But any thoughts about continuing and furthering the mission and vision of Collision Industry Foundation?
Yeah, I love what we do. When I was looking for something to volunteer, and I was an iCar volunteer before I went to work for them. So then I lost that volunteering piece when I became an employee. And that's, I was looking for a place to volunteer, and just the mission of helping individuals really spoke to me. And so, yeah, so as this is our 25th anniversary, just it's a great opportunity to create more awareness and get the word out that that we're here to help more than we have in the past because we have a special talking point. If I have any goal is just to continue to expand that, not just grow our donor base because we're growing that and we have a great team of trustees and volunteers and that's growing. But let's get the word out there more completely that we're here and get more requests for help. We don't want the money in the bank. We want to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. From a service standpoint, what are some of the things that we can do as a, speaking from the CIF perspective, for people that do want to help, whether it's from a corporate standpoint or an individual standpoint? From my own perspective, I got into it by volunteering, but what are some of the, I guess, avenues specifically that anyone that watches this can say, hey, maybe I'd like to, whether it's a donation or a resource or get involved in some capacity? How would that work?
The biggest area is the different volunteering opportunities. We have several different committees, the event committee, the fundraising committee, we have a marketing committee. All those different committees have space for volunteers that aren't on the Board of Trustees. And it's a great way to get involved and see if it's the right charity for you to work with. I mean, that's how I started. That's how I realized that it was right for me. On top of that, just being willing, we were trying to create that network of people that when there's an event, when there's especially a major national event or a major disaster, of that network of people that will help remind people in the affected areas that we're here and we're here to help. That if you don't have the time to volunteer, that's something I like to see develop over this year, is that we have this communication network actually established where we can email blast and let people know, remind people in your market, we're here to help.
Yeah, awareness is huge, and it always has been a challenge. So we will keep that up. And, pivoting a little bit here, what I'm hearing and sensing is a real passion for service. So, we obviously talking about CIF and your passion for service in the industry. And just maybe a little bit more on a personal note, I know you're involved with coaching, and I can't recall specifically if it's scouting or, whatever you're doing to give back, but maybe tell us a little bit about some more personal opportunities that you're involved with just for service in general.
Sure. Yeah. I have 5 kids.
Nice.
So, yeah, I have a passion for, working with teens, and it gives me the opportunity to do some things, especially with the travel schedule and the hectic life that we live in this industry, that by volunteering in those other areas, it's given me some good opportunity to not just help other kids, but be with my kids as well. So I'm on a committee very similar to the Board of Trustees for a local troop with Trail Life USA. It's an outdoor faith-based program where we just try to teach and raise good men to become Christian warriors in the world as they become adults. And then I sit on the school board for the school that my kids attend, and I volunteer there. And then since 2009, I have coached girls basketball, boys basketball, girls volleyball, track, and sometimes as a head coach, sometimes it's just somebody that comes in and helps. Whatever time I have, I give to them, and then I expect that to continue. This year, sadly, one of my friends hurt his knee. He was the JV head coach, and I stepped in. They drug me out of mothballs, and I stepped in and filled in for him and went 5-0. So in my 5 games I coached.
Well, maybe it'll become more permanent.
I'm not looking. I like the support role. I coach post players. I help out. I fill in, and it's a good spot for me with schedule to still be involved, but to not have to be there every day.
Well, that's certainly a impressive schedule, and boy, I'm kind of I feel like I'm slacking here a little bit, but very nice. Hey, just back to the industry real quick. As a whole, the industry's got certain challenges. From your perspective, maybe run through a couple of those, and whether it's either whatever your full-time job is or your volunteer positions are. What speaks to your heart, and how do you think that the industry might be able to address those, and maybe some other organizations that you might recommend or belong to? I don't know if it's CIC. Usually that the CIF meetings are held around CIC, but there's other, SCRS. I was going to mention, the other industry organizations that kind of provide a platform or an opportunity for everyone to get together.
Yeah, I think our industry, the challenge, and we hear it talked about at all the different conferences, is just the rate of change and technology increasing in the vehicles. I have in my segment that I manage for iCar, I work with a lot of the ADAS companies, and so I see just the explosion of technology and growth that's going on there, and it's keeping up. I think that's one of the biggest challenges is going to be keeping up. It's big reason why I work for iCar, because I believe in their mission of educating people. That's why I went to work for them in the first place. And I had that year where I went out and stuck my toe in the water and played in private equity for a year, and I came back home to iCar a year later. It's a company I believe in. I think, the other is just the change that's going on with acquisition, with consolidation, but there's also a lot of new shops opening. So you're seeing both. While the one restriction, you're seeing just new businesses open up and new people get into the industry. They're going to need the help, and they're going to need educated help to be able to do it. So that to me is the most important thing going on in the industry right now.
Yeah, I agree. And it's never a dull moment. And I think the industry as a whole, because of the different, constituents and relationships, you've got high percentage of the repairs are done through some kind of a carrier or insurance company. And then, so there are definitely some competing interests there, but it does keep everything quite fluid and interesting. As we wrap up our time, any thoughts here on where we'll see you next, and how we can continue to help each other grow as a industry here?
Yeah, I think where you'll see me next is at not this upcoming CIC, but at the July CIC in Chicago. We'll have a space on the stage to talk about the anniversary and the history of CIF, and I think it'd be a great chance for people to learn more about our organization and more about our mission and what we're up to.
Well, that's perfect. And I forgot to throw in there that for at least the last several years, you've been doing the live auction, right? For the gala, for the Cocktails for a Cause, and do a great job. And we've improved that event every year. So I know that everyone appreciates your efforts in that regard. And as president, congratulations on that. Paul Hill,
I'll
really
give everybody a quick sneak peek, because we're going to celebrate the 25th anniversary at the next Cocktails for a Cause. Being our silver anniversary, I'll be doing that auction in a silver suit.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
Okay, well, I think that we'll all look forward to that. And it is a big year for the Collision Industry Foundation. Thanks so much for your time, and we will see you at an event soon. Thanks so much, Paul Hill.
Yep. Thank you, John.